Hi everyone. Today we're going to take a look at race gear. So a couple of things in particular. The first thing we take a look at is what are the essential items you need to participate in Caterham Academy. So this would be the regulations that are relevant to 2020. Of course, it may well change in the future. But for this season, I'll take you through the things that are absolutely necessary. And then we'll take a look at the race gear that I've actually purchased. And there's a couple of things I want to point out within this. And thank you to one of the viewers, to Steve Webb, for a recent question. It really did get me thinking. I'm really keen to show how you can get started in racing on a budget, and I'll also be upfront and whatever and explain if I've perhaps not even followed these rules for myself, which you will see in the this race gear video. I'll explain why and give you the different options, and then that way you can make a choice or at least know the information for yourself. So we'll go through that in today's video. But before we get started today, if you've not already done so, please can you subscribe? It makes a massive difference to the channel. If you have, please give a thumbs up, of course, but also please turn on the notification bell. That way you'll actually get the reminder notification every time we post a video here. So that would be much appreciated. So over the last 12 months, I've actually used Daemon Tweaks, and I am blown away with their level of service, their expertise and knowledge. What I found around motorsport in particular has been exceptional, but also to actually make sure you get the right product selection. Now, they're based in Chester. That didn't suit me geographically, but I was able to communicate with them by phone, by email, and then the goods are delivered super quick. So most things arrive next day. And if there's a problem with the sizing or whatever, have a chat, because you can often arrange what their returns kind of policies are. So engage with one of the reputable retailers would be my top tip here. They're going to help you select the right gear. They're going to make sure it meets the regulation requirement. And after all, it's there for your own personal safety. So yeah, please take that advice. Okay, so as a minimum to participate, you need the following items. You need a race helmet, which meets, of course, the right spec, but also has the posts fitted for the hands devices. I would have known them from Formula One, or FHR, frontal head restraint device. And you see this sits around the neck with straps which limits the amount of forward head movement. So you need to get that combination package. You're going to need the race suit, again meeting the right specification. And then the other items you would need is the fireproof balaclava to go underneath your race helmet, and then boots and gloves, again which meet the right FIA requirements. So those are the items. Now, I took a little browse on Daemon Tweaks, and I'll give you some guide prices as we go along, but you could get yourself started for under £1,000. Okay, so under 1,000 would get you started. When I was pricing up this this whole adventure for myself, I had a chat with a few people that I know had participated in Academy and other motorsport, and they gave me a ballpark figure, and they proved to be pretty much bang on. They said, look, Rob, budget for £2,000 for your race gear. Okay, now mine's come in at just under £1,900. I'll go through the different items and I'll include some of the prices as well. But that's what mine come in. I'll explain why I've spent a little bit extra. Now, what I must say is it's not from a safety aspect. You would like to think that if it meets the regulation, then you'd expect the safety of the £1,000 or the £2,000 or more equipment to look after you the same. This, in essence, is purely from style, but for comfort and function. So for me, that's why I've spent a little bit extra on some of those. The other thing to bear in mind with race gear is it is an investment. So some of your money, if you ever needed it back out, you would be able to do so. And many of the items have good resale values. So that's one way to look at it. But the other thing is you would hope that it's going to last you much more than just the one season. So if your plan is perhaps to do 2 seasons, 3, 5 seasons, if you start dividing out the cost of things like race gear, it can actually be okay to spend that a little bit more. And even though I'm on a budget, that was my approach to this one. If I don't manage to go past one season in motorsport, well, I've participated in track days for a few years. I will make use of much of the equipment on track days. So there was still that residual value in the items for me. Okay, so let's get started. I'm going to actually start off with a freebie. So participants in the Caterham Academy were provided with a few bits of Caterham merchandise, one of them being this fantastic kit bag. And it stores everything. So in the main compartment is my race suit, my crash helmet, the frontal head restraint, and then in the pockets I've got room for gloves and boots and race underwear as well, in the end pockets. Absolutely fantastic, all in one place. Brilliant, great piece of kit. Next up, let's take a look at the race helmet. Now, when it comes to this one, I had a personal preference. For the last few years, I've used a Sparco track day helmet. Now, from me, this comes highly recommended. I've never been in the unfortunate position of being in a crash, so I can't speak for it from a safety point of view, but I can speak about how functional it is and comfortable at an incredible budget price. So I had used the Sparco Club X1. I'll pop the link in the description below, but you'll see that it's around about 70 quid all in, which for a track day helmet was fantastic. Now, I found that it fitted me really nicely, it was really comfortable, and it just led me into thinking, well, actually, I would like to go for the Sparco race helmet equivalent. I went for the same size and I found it to be the same lovely fit for me. I opted for a combination package from Daemon Tweaks. It was the Sparco RF5W crash helmet along with the Stand 21 Club series frontal head restraint. And that comes in at a package at around £640. Just as a guideline, if you were going for the budget options, then you'd be looking at around about £520 for a crash helmet, full face crash helmet and a FHR device. So that gives you some sort of idea of your entry point and where I've opted. And by the way, you can go ahead, of course, and spend thousands. You get into carbon crash helmets, carbon frontal head restraints and whatever. So this absolutely is really still kind of budget end, but it's not the absolute cheapest. That's the reasons why I've used this helmet now on a couple of track days and very, very happy with it. Even getting used to putting the frontal head restraint on and off, which to begin with feels really weird. That's all becoming a little bit more normal now, but it's been very comfortable throwing on track days. So yeah, works for me, really happy. From a mandatory point of view, you have to have the fireproof balaclava to go underneath. Now, these start from around just over 30 quid. I've paired it up with the black Sparco balaclava. That comes in at just under £50. So for the extra money, the sort of things you're getting is things like flat seams where the material is fitted. The machining of the stitching is much flatter, so when you're wearing it, there's less kind of pressure points or whatever. Yeah, it's fine, it's worked for me. Next thing on the list is the other big spend, and that is the race suit. Now, from a budget end, race suits start at around £250 that meet the correct FIA regulations. Have a look online, have a shop around, but that's where they start. Now, the race suit is something I did spend extra on. I opted to go for the Caterham race suit, Caterham Motorsport race suit. Way before I looked at joining the academy, I tried to buy one of these and couldn't work out why. Well, Caterham put an order in once a year with Daemon Tweaks, and there's a special order made from OMP to this kind of design. So when I had the opportunity, I was interested to look into what I'd get for my money. So whilst race suits do start at around £250, this particular race suit is based on the Techna Evo OMP suit, and that comes in at around £775, so a really big difference. So what do you get for your extra money? Now, from my point of view, this is about comfort. Absolutely comfort. You're in your race suit for a long time. Sometimes it can be throughout the day, particularly if you're on a track day or test day, whatever. It is something you're going to be in for a long time. And when you're in the car, it can be a hot enough place anyway. if there's anything you can do to help to kind of make that more comfortable, more bearable, then that has to be a good thing, right? Plus, as I've mentioned earlier, I wouldn't anticipate this suit to only last me one season. I would anticipate this suit to last me many, many years. So let's have a look at just some of the things you actually get for your extra money. So this particular suit is made up of 3 layers of material instead of just a single layer, which many of the budget suits are. On top of that, there's other clever things. So for example, the arms you'll notice are shaped, and they're shaped so when you're at the steering wheel, they are naturally fitting for the position you're in. That makes it much more comfortable to wear in that particular position. Things like what's known as floating arms. So if we have a look around the shoulder joint, you'll see that the arms really move freely and easily, and the material is a lighter weight. They include technology, OMP call it the dry system, but ways of venting the suit and allowing the suit to breathe so you are more comfortable, particularly when you're in those warmer conditions. So all in all, I've now worn the suit just on 2 occasions, but for the whole day, and I found it to be very comfortable. Even when in the car, I didn't get over hot. I wasn't feeling any pinch points or whatever. So for me, again, I'm really, really pleased with this purchase. And by the way, I do think it looks fantastic. I love the detailing on it. The stitching is done really nicely. It's a real quality professional item. So very, very pleased with that one. Next up, let's take a look at race gloves. Again, this is an area where I did spend considerably more than the budget entry level price. You can get gloves that meet the FIA standard for around £60. I opted for gloves that was £140. So why? Now for me, this really was one thing, it's feel. There's a couple of points where you are in absolute communication with your car. One of them is your feet, which we're going to talk about next, and the other is your hands. Particularly in a car like a Caterham, you get so much sensation fed back to you through your fingertips. I wanted those gloves to be as comfortable and as natural as possible. After trying a few pairs of gloves, the ones I opted for were the OMP 1 Evo gloves. I found these to be really, really comfortable to wear and as tactile as possible. Now, the sort of things you're getting for your extra money, the big change in gloves when you're looking is external seams. Now you can see all the way around the fingers, the seam is actually on the outside. It actually, to be honest, I think it looks a little bit unsightly. But what it means is instead of those seams being tucked on the inside, which reduces fill, they're on the outside, so you've got, you know, the best possible closeness of the material to your fingers and then to the steering wheel. So these gloves, again, I've worn on a couple of occasions and I found them to be absolutely superb. Highly, highly recommended. There are a couple of items, as I mentioned, where I think it's really important to make sure you get the right feel. One of them was the gloves, the other is the race boots. Particularly in the Caterham, the pedals are so close together, so intentionally I can actually operate the brake and the throttle together. I need to be able to move between them easily and predictably, but because they're so close, the shoes do need to be narrow enough so you don't inadvertently hit more than one pedal. Race boots is obviously required, but is also the answer. A race boot tends to be very narrow with a thin sole, and you do get the maximum fill. So in a Caterham, as you would have seen in one of my previous videos, you are steering as much on the throttle as you are on the steering wheel. Believe me, you need as much fill as you possibly can. With boots, the ones I opted for were the OMP first boots. In terms of price, these are just a little over £130. The budget price, the entry price point, is around about £100. So a little bit more on the boots, not perhaps as exceptional as the gloves and the suit may be, but these were the boots that I found to be comfortable, fitted nicely for me. Again, used them on a few track days, found them to be absolutely excellent. The next 3 items are all race underwear, and these are optional. You do not need these to meet the Caterham Motorsport regulations. I'm sure that would be the same for many other motorsports, these falling in the optional category. For me, I'm wearing a suit for more than one day, so I'll be on a test day and then a race day. Well, actually, it'd be quite nice to have something underneath. Perhaps you want to drop the suit down, then you've got a top underneath. Those sort of things. For those reasons, I find it good to have actually not just one set of these, but two sets of underwear. The items I chose are Sparco socks at £17 a pair. For the top, I selected the Sparco RW3 top at just over £60, and matching with that is the RW3 pants or bottoms at £56, I think they were. In retrospect, I think I would have probably gone for the OMP. Not that I found these to be uncomfortable in any way. OMP claim that there's a cooling advantage to have their underwear, which helps support their cooling system. So maybe in retrospect, that is something I would have done. Just passing it on to you because it's something I found out after the event. There we are. There's an overview to the race gear I've chosen and some of the reasons why. I'd be really keen to hear any of your thoughts or comments for gear that you've chosen and are particularly happy with, and I'm sure many of the other viewers would as well. So please go ahead and pop a comment in below. Be really interested to see that. If you've not done so already, give the video a thumbs up. That really helps me out. Subscribe if you've not already done so, and hit that notification bell. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Keep yourself safe at this difficult time, and I look forward to seeing you soon.